checking one from, but the chances that you would call are slim to none. This ain't a bad thing. We agreed upon a date, but until I sit here and think about what I say, all that I'll do is make sure it's true, 'cause you're certainly someone I can't let just fade to blue. All I'm thinking of all day is how can I get to you? Caught in this storm, the rain starts to pour, and these gusts of wind taking form are looking for a wall. Blown out of shape, then I just think of your face, and my wounds are starting to mend. I hurt no more.
A horrible day. This was not the intention of this video at all. It is 11 o'clock at night. I'm in the wrong country, flight's delayed, everything has gone wrong today. I can't walk because I've got marathon legs. I'm sweaty and dirty, right, I'm gonna get a shower and we'll either talk about this in a sec or in the morning when I wake up, because I've only got 5 hours, 6 hours before I need to leave the hotel to get back to the airport. Ah, what a mess. Here I am again, back at the airport. Attempt number 2 to get to the destination. What a mess. Right, let's bring you up to speed. So, Berlin Marathon finished. I was then flying out to meet my family for a family holiday in Lanzarote. Club La Santa, it's a bit of a family favourite. So I had a flight from Berlin to Barcelona and then a Barcelona flight to Lanzarote. Now, I believe there was some sort of cyber attacks at the airports. I think London had got hit as well. So essentially my first flight, so from Berlin to Barcelona, was delayed. So I missed my second flight, which was a bit of a nightmare. And no matter where I looked, on every airline, Skyscanner, etc., there was no flights available to get me to Lanzarote until either Wednesday by a direct flight, or so 2 days later, because yesterday was Monday, or I had to do like a 12-hour stint where I'd have to go fly further away to then change and then come back. I think it had me flying to Lyon or something from Barcelona. So that was a mess. Anywho, Vueling then put me up in a hotel, because obviously it was their fault, but that was about 30 minutes away from the airport. So I then had to Uber from the airport to the hotel, which is about 40 euros. Then when I got to the hotel, they hadn't had payment from Vueling yet, the airline, so they weren't letting anyone into the rooms. So bearing in mind this is still like about 10 o'clock at night at this point, I didn't get into my room about midnight because the payment was getting declined or not going through or whatever. And then my replacement flight was at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I then had to get another 40 euro taxi, Uber, back to the airport. And I got up at like 5 o'clock to make sure that I got there in time. So I was on about 5 hours sleep as well. And also when I woke up, I realized that for some reason the power had gone off and my phone didn't charge overnight. So I was panicking with my portable charger first thing in the morning so that I could order my Uber. Then my phone died on the way to Lanzarote. Just everything went wrong. But I'm here. So this video is meant to be kind of dissecting the race, Berlin Marathon, and we're off to a good start, eh? So anyway, I've done about, at this point, 36 hours of travelling. So I'm desperate for a shower and an ice cold Pepsi Max. Right, let's get sorted and we'll talk about the race. Hello. Leche, por favor. So, let's talk about Berlin Marathon. Now, my plans to race got derailed due to being not very well, which I'm still kind of getting to the bottom of. It's all pointing towards Red S, which is probably worth looking up if you're not sure what that is, just because every test that I do, stool samples, blood tests, etc., to do with my gut issues that I've been experiencing, it's all coming back negative, which suggests something like Red S. Anywho, so that curbed my plans to race for Berlin Marathon. So I went to Berlin with all intentions of just jogging around. Now, that's easier said than done, because when you get to the start line and you see everyone ready to kind of shoot for their PBs, everyone in super shoes, everyone talking about pace goals and things like that, and then you see like the crowds getting absolutely riled up, it's so difficult to rein it in. And I'd essentially failed to prepare to fail, because I only took a couple gels with me to the race, so I had no intentions of absolutely going for it. I just had a little bit of fuel on me. I knew that there would be bits and bobs around the course, and I only had intentions of maybe running some like 3 hours, just kind of jogging around, with all due respect. So I was walking to the start line with my videographer Alex, who is an absolute top lad, a true gent, really. And I said to him, I was like, yeah, I just don't really know what to expect from this, really. And we got to the start line, we were there for a couple of hours, and you kind of been on your feet for a long time, and it was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna jog around because my legs are already tired from being on their feet. And then while we were in the start pen, because the A wave got funneled into the start wave by this like absolute tiny gap, maybe like a meter and a half wide, when you've got thousands of runners being funneled in, it got really chaotic. And there was a point where everyone that hadn't got into the pen yet and was queuing backwards almost kind of created a bit of a riot, flattened the fences just to get into the start pen, which is just absolutely ridiculous, to be honest. Like, it's so selfish. Like, just wait your turn if you weren't there early enough. Like, that's tough shit, isn't it, really? But anywho, that just created this kind of air of, I don't know, nervousness in the start pen, more than there already was, basically. So yeah, so I kind of got, I don't know, I'm not going to say anxious, but got that kind of, I don't know, bit on edge in the start pen. And then when the kind of the gun goes off at the start of the race, I was like, right, we're going to start off, settle into this. And then kind of 6 minute miling felt okay, and I was like, okay, right, maybe I could maintain this the whole way around. I think 6 minute miling gets you something like a, I don't know, like a 240-ish. So I was like, oh yeah, I'd be chuffed with that, that'd be great. And then the second K kind of goes through, third K goes through, and I've suddenly dropped down to kind of 325, 330 per K. And I'm going, oh, okay, like legs feel all right, like they're warming up a little bit. Which, bearing in mind, I'd done absolutely no speed work for a few weeks leading into the race. I thought that sort of pace was going to feel horrendous. And actually it felt like reasonably okay. And I don't know if that's just adrenaline kind of playing its part. And then yeah, I got to about 10K and I still felt reasonably good holding that pace. So I then made a conscious decision to kind of stick with it. And en route, I actually bumped into a guy called Callum Davidson, who I didn't really know up to this point, but we kind of became friends en route. And we shared like quite a few miles together. I'd say like at least 10 miles together, really. And we just kind of maintained that sort of pace together, and it just ended up feeling kind of like the most sensible thing to do. And then as we progressed through the race, we started to catch more and more people that had maybe gone out too quick. And if anything, I was kind of growing in strength and just felt a lot more confident and comfortable at that sort of pace. I was like, okay, this could turn into like a decent effort. It's never going to be a PB, but I could still run like a half decent time that I'd be chuffed with, especially based on my preparation or my lack of. And then we started to catch what was the kind of elite British women's group with like Samantha Harrison and Callie Thackeray in. And then we kind of caught that group, worked with them for a little while, and then started to push on a little bit. So up until, I'd say, 25K, well, I've just glazed over the fact that I went through halfway in 1:12:30, which, yeah, was probably a little bit ambitious thinking about it, especially based on my lack of preparation. So yeah, pushed on to about 25 to 30K and felt all right. And then at 30K, that's just where it all went wrong. So I've only done one marathon before Berlin, and that was obviously London. And that was the sort of race where everything went right. I didn't really feel any of those classic marathon symptoms, the hitting the wall, the just absolutely dead with 5K to go. Like, I didn't really experience that. So I didn't know what to expect, really. But I found out the hard way. I experienced what pretty much most marathon runners would experience on race day. And that was that kind of, yeah, that hitting the wall feeling, that feeling of just absolutely nothing in the legs. Like, brain and head feels fine, lungs feel fine, heart feels fine, but my legs were just absolutely dead to the world. So I have to hold my hands up and say the last 7K of the Berlin Marathon was probably the hardest 7K I've ever had in my running career so far. Just legs had nothing, and the pace kind of took a massive hit, as you would expect. So going into the race, Kaizen, the app that I've been using for my training, which is an app that you guys can get to kind of help to kind of predict your marathon performance. It uses metrics to basically determine what it estimates you would run for a marathon on perfect conditions. Now obviously you do have to take that number with a pinch of salt, because it's only fair that the app can predict perfect conditions, because conditions are so variable. So for example, Kaizen was predicting leading into Berlin about 3 or 4 weeks out that I'd run like a 2:13. So that might indicate maybe like a 2:15, 2:16 with the heat of Berlin. But it's just been a fantastic training partner for me in terms of keeping continuous tabs on where I'm at with my fitness and how things are progressing through a training block. And it does this by taking your kind of overall volume, your overall average pace, and then kind of essentially estimating what you would run on perfect conditions for the marathon. Now, the two kind of co-owners of Kaizen, they were out in Berlin as well, and they ran probably not the times that they were hoping for, but no one did, basically, just due to the conditions out there. But they're absolute top guys, and I've loved using their software throughout this training block, and I'm going to use it into my training block going forward for Valencia. So if you do want to try Kaizen, an app that's all about kind of predicting your marathon performance, and at the end of the day, which marathon runner doesn't like knowing what their prediction is? We're always checking predictions, right? Use the code COLERUNS1 for a 2-week free trial, so you don't even have to pay to try it. I say out of all the apps that I check on a daily basis, we're talking Strava, Instagram, Kaizen, and WhatsApp. Probably they're the only 4 that I check every single day. So yeah, use the link in the description below, and yeah, COLERUNS1 for a 2-week free trial. So the last 3K especially was just an absolute crawl. Just trying my absolute best not to fall over or just walk, because I just couldn't bring myself to walk over the finish line. And it felt like I hit a wall, even though I'd taken on plenty of carbohydrates. There was gels, drink mixes around the course. I must have taken on probably 250 to 300 grams of carbohydrate across the course, which is just unnecessary, really, or borderline unnecessary. So although I didn't technically probably run out of carbohydrate, I definitely felt like I'd hit a wall, probably like a wall of durability, if you like, or I just was not prepared for the marathon at all. So to get to the end of the race and have kind of got home kind of relatively unscathed with a 2:29.04, I was absolutely chuffed with that. And in a lot of ways, it taught me a lot more about myself than London ever did. There's nothing massive to be learned from spectacular performances, you know? Whereas Berlin, I learned that I still had a fantastic time on the start line, despite not PBing, not being anywhere close to my PB. And previously I'd always felt like if you're not in PB shape, like kind of what's the point in lining up on the start line? It taught me that the 2 weeks prior to the marathon, they do matter a lot. And if you don't prepare well, like your body it's not going to let you down, but it's going to basically show you how you've prepared, basically. Like there's no BS in the marathon. And I'm not going to call London a fluke, because I definitely worked hard for that, but it showed me that it very rarely will go the way you want it to, and there's going to be far more bad performances than there are good in this marathon game, because it's high reward, but it's also massively high risk. And I think in a lot of ways I needed the Berlin Marathon to go the way it did. I needed to have a massive setback, and I needed to have a bit of a reality check when it came to the marathon scene, the marathon as a distance, because for it to always go 100% correct, that would have just been totally unfair. Yeah, it just wouldn't benefit me in the long run, really. But in a lot of ways, I was like a lot more proud of myself maybe for Berlin, because it was that much tougher, and because the build up into it was that much tougher, and I'd have so many setbacks in the final weeks leading into it. It just felt like everything was going wrong. I was absolutely chuffed with my time at the end, because as I said, it wasn't a PB. It wasn't a blisteringly quick time, but it showed me that I did maybe have the grit and determination that I thought I'd lost recently. I thought I'd become like a little bit soft in training, and it was just nice to be kind of reminded that no, you can knuckle down and get it done when the going gets tough. So hopefully going forward, that's reinstilled that belief in myself. And definitely now, kind of 3 days on from the marathon, at this point post-London, I felt a massive kind of post-marathon blues, post-marathon depression, whatever you want to call it. Whereas right now, I feel so motivated for Valencia Marathon that I just have a feeling now that it's going to go a lot more like London than Berlin. And I think at the end of the day, Berlin was my second marathon. So with the help of a coach, with the help of a nutritionist, with hopefully a better work-life balance, I can leave the mistakes behind, learn from them, and put a much better build in towards Valencia, and come out the other side with a result that I'm a bit more happy with in terms of time alone. But the Berlin Marathon chapter on this journey that is Cole's marathon journey is definitely not something that I'm going to be forgetting anytime soon. I had a fantastic time out in Berlin, feeling the city kind of come alive with running. So it's definitely something that I've taken a lot from, and it's not one to kind of forget and move on from, because although it wasn't the time that I wanted, I've taken so much from it, and I'm now waffling. So anyway, I've come to Lanzarote, as you can tell, and much like the few weeks leading into Berlin, the travel getting here was an absolute nightmare. But this week is going to be basically a week of rest and recovery, because that's something I definitely neglected post-London. And then that will give me 10 weeks with my new coach to build in to Valencia. And a lot of people have been asking me, Cole, who's your new coach? Who's your new coach? Well, I guess now is maybe a good time to mention it, because by the time this video comes out, it will be kind of well and truly underway. Nah, just kidding. I'm going to save it for another video when I'm actually doing their training. But yeah, as I mentioned before, it is a couple. So a couple from the UK, there's another clue for you. But yeah, I'm also going to make a separate video talking about my training in a little bit more depth, because there was some massive mistakes that I made, and I'm hoping to really kind of rectify that with the help of a coach going forward and be a little bit more accountable, a little bit more objective about my training. Whereas this video has been a lot more about the actual race itself and kind of my kind of preparation, short-term preparation leading into it. But yeah, 2:29:04. I never thought I would say I'd be chuffed with that, but I hope this doesn't sound arrogant. I hope that is the slowest marathon I ever run, and then that is a benchmark for how wrong it can go in a lot of ways. And I'll always prepare better and have learned a lot from the mistakes and just corrected a lot of the issues that I've had in this build, so I don't make them again. Because I always like to say, once is a mistake, twice is a choice. So let's get this gut stuff sorted out, which I think is primarily down to fueling and just getting some really good, sensible training first and foremost. But anyway, thanks to everyone who has supported the journey so far. The Berlin build wasn't quite what I'd hoped it was, but I guess just like in Brandenburg, it's a gateway to the next thing. And yeah, I'm absolutely buzzing for Valencia, as I mentioned. So yeah, arguably the two fastest marathons in the world back to back, Berlin and then Valencia. Let's see what happens, shall we? Thanks for tuning in. Have a lovely week, have a lovely weekend. I'll catch you in the next one.